to do.
What is up, YouTube? This is Hypergon, your Chapter the Cat, back again for another video. Now, this week I'm going to be doing something I haven't done in a little while, actually, one of my deck profiles. And as of late, as many of you know, we recently got the Magician Pendulum structure deck, so a lot of people have been kind of working with that, trying to find their own fix for it. One of the more common ones is Apex Apian. So there's a bunch of other variants. I use none of those. I actually use one of the lesser known variants, and it's more me trying to hype up another deck, and that is Red Eyes. Yes, once those came out in Clash of Rebellions, I knew I had to have them, because Red Eyes, for me, were very important when I first got into the game. It was one of the first real decks I ever had. So, I tried to make them work originally, and it just didn't work. Then I looked into the Magician Pendulums and realized that there was some potential for it there. I tried mixing the two together, and lo and behold, it actually worked out quite nicely. I wouldn't say it's the best build of the Magician Pendulum archetype, but for me, it works out quite nicely. So let me show you guys what I have right now, and yeah, let's get started. Alright, so starting this one off, we have, obviously since it's a Red Eyes variant, 2 Red Eyes Black Dragons. Now, the reason that I go for 2 is because with the Magician Pendulum archetype, they're able to pendulum summon upwards of 7, so that's kind of where I originally got the idea for this. And since I do run a lot of Red Eye support, I do kind of need just a couple of him. I tried running one, and it just became a little problematic, if you can believe it. I'll get to why a little bit later. In addition to him, I also run 1 Summon Skull. This is primarily because I do run the Fusion, which, actually, I guess I might as well get to the reason now. I do need at least 1 Red Eyes in the deck in order for the Fusion to work, or at least one that's not being used, so that's why I have 2 of him. But the 1 Summon Skull seems to be working out just fine, just because, well, you know. Trust me, he just works out fine just as one. I also have 2 of the new ones, Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon. He's just kind of for the consistency of it. He is somewhat of the better one, and since he's a Gemini, I can work around the normal aspect of it as long as he's in the grave or on the field. In addition to them, I also run 2 Black Metal Dragons. They're kind of nice because I can actually just equip them straight from hand, so that gets around certain restrictions like Red Eye's Fusion, which prevents me from normal summoning or special summoning that turn, but I can still use his effect. And if he goes to the graveyard, then I get to search out a Red Eyes card, which gives me some good versatility for this. I can search out regular Red Eyes, I can search out the new one, I can search out the Fusion, like I just said, or I can search out this guy, the last of the Red Eyes cards, Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, a staple in any dragon deck, so I don't feel the need to justify this one. And that's pretty much it for the Red Eyes portion of it. It's a very small aspect of the deck, but it does still, it works out quite nicely. Alright, now we move on to the Magician Pendulum aspect, in which I run first the 3 Skullcrobat Jokers. I don't even think I need to describe why this guy is good for anyone who's playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Recently. Basically, he searches out any Magician, Perform Pal, or Odd Eyes monster in the deck when normal summoned. And that's basically it. That's what he does. He's a searcher, he does a good job. And 18's pretty decent. Next, I run 1 Dragon Pulse Magician, just for scale. Her effect's pretty good too, lets her pop monsters. I believe it's, yes, 1 face-up monster on the field, and destroy. That's pretty much all she does, nothing too terribly fancy. She's mostly just for the scale. I then run 3 Dragon Pit Magicians. He's again primarily for the scale. His effect also allows him to pop back row, but he's more versatile than Dragon Pulse just because he's also a level 7 monster, so I can use him for Xyz plays a little bit easier. And next up I run 2 Wisdom Eye Magicians. Not really for the scale so much as just being able to use him for his effect, pop him in the pendulum zones, I have another magician, my other one, and set any pendulum monster in that scale. So he just kind of adds another pendulum summon that I can do, giving it a level 4 in case I need to go into like a rank 4 or some form of a synchro play, because I do have some tuners in the deck. So next up I have 2 copies of Oak Dragon Magician. I honestly wasn't running him in the original build of this, but then I kind of realized that, 1, I was missing some lower scales And also I realized that his ability to recycle from either the extra deck or the graveyard is pretty useful. This deck does have a few discard effects in it, so I do need the ability to recycle my Pendulum monsters, and Oak Dragon does that pretty nicely. Plus, since he's level 6, it actually gives me an excuse to work in some interesting plays with Summon Skull. I'll get that a little bit later. Next, I run one Noble Dragon Magician, just because she's a good tuner, works well with the deck, and lets me go into some pretty stupid synchro plays. I also run one, sorry, I'm going to butcher this name, Zhangik, I honestly have no idea how to spell that. This magician, and again, he's a level 7, so it works out nicely, a lower scale, and he lets me go into the full form of Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon. That's basically the full extent of that. And then I run 3 Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragons. Lets me search out Wisdom Eye and Dragon Pit with its effects. That's pretty good. Also level 7 dragons, so I cannot really argue with that either. And his effect to do double damage is just pretty good, so I have no real reason not to run him. And then to round off, I have one Debris Dragon, because he's a pretty decent tuner, and when used with Keeper of the Shrine, he can bring him out and then go into a rank 4 Exceeds play, which I do have a few of those, so that kind of justifies that one. That's it for my monster lineup. Pretty standard stuff. Next up, for the spells, I have one Red Eyes Fusion. I really only need the one just because, again, I only have the one Summon Skull and the 2 regular Red Eyes that I can pull from the deck. That's pretty much where you're always going to be pulling them from, so I have no real reason to run any more than that. And just, it gets me their fusion, it does what it needs to do. Plus it's searchable with Black Metal Dragons, so. And then 1 Cards of the Red Stone. Now, I realize that the usual rule for draw power cards that have a cost is you tend to run half as many draw powers as you have the cost, unless your deck is all cost. But in this case, I only run the 1 just because this card also sends them. So if I just use this once, I'll send 1 from my hand and then another from the deck. That's half my Red Eyes cards that I can use with this already. And I have other cards that do the same thing, so I don't need too many of these. Just the 1 is fine. If I run into it, honestly, the Red Eye stuff tends to be kind of shy in this deck, so I don't see it that often, so usually when I do come across this, it'd either be later on in the duel, so I would probably have something by then. I also run 1 Dragon Shrine because I can send 1 of my Red Eyes to the graveyard, and then I can also send off Keeper of the Shrine, so I have him there just in case I get Debris Dragon, or whatever else I need to do. I then run 2 copies of Silver's Cry, just so that I can reuse my Red Eyes monsters if need be. Unfortunately, unlike the Pendulum monsters, when they die, they just die, and I can't re-Pendulum summon them. And since I'm very heavy on getting them to the graveyard, I need some means of getting them back, so I rely on Silver's Cry for that. And plus being quick play is pretty nice. Next up, we move back onto the Pendulum side of things with Pendulum Call, 2 of them. This is actually a pretty good card for those of you guys who aren't aware of how it works. You discard a card, and you add 2 Magician Pendulum monsters with different names from your deck to your hand, but you cannot have used any Pendulum Magician effects this turn, and monsters in your Pendulum Zone cannot be destroyed this turn. So it's a little bit restricting because you can't use things like Wisdom Eye Magician with its effect, but you can still add him and just use him the following turn. You're mostly just going to be getting Dragon Pulse and Dragon Pit, but it's still a pretty good card, still does what it needs to do. Next up, I run 2 Pot of Riches. I'm debating running this one down to just 1, honestly. I'm just kind of seeing how it works right now. So far, it's worked pretty decently for me, because I can usually get a lot of things in my extra deck and graveyard pretty quickly. Truth be told, this is actually a 43 card deck, so if I do it, knock it down to 42, and I really can't see myself knocking out any more than that. Again, I'm just seeing how it works right now. If it starts to get cloggy, I'll take 1 out, but for now, that's what I'm running. I also run 2 Summoner's Arts, because this allows me to search out 1 of my base Red Eyes, or 1 of my Dragon Pit Magicians, and it just works out kind of nicely. Having 2 isn't too cloggy. It just works out quite nicely. And I also run 2 Sacred Swords 7 stars, because I have a crap ton of level 7 monsters in this, but at the same time I don't want them all banished, so this one just usually lets me just get rid of 1 or 2 of them, and I'll be good, get the draw power I need. Next I run 1 Dragon's Mirror, just because I do have a lot of fusion-based things I can do with this deck, and this lets me get into a lot of them later on in the game, so. I run one base Polymerization. Truth be told, this is actually not supposed to be a Polymerization. This is supposed to be a Odd Eyes Fusion. But Odd Eyes Fusion is, last time I checked, about $30 to $40, and I am not dropping $30 to $40 on a card. I am a budget player. I am a casual player. I do not play competitively. This is what I'm running for now. If it ever goes down to like maybe $10, we'll talk. But for now, it's a Polymerization. And then to round things off, I also have one Raigeki, for obvious reasons, and a 1-for-1, just because it lets me get into what do we call it, Black Metal Dragon. It actually opens up some fairly interesting plays if I have like an Odd Eyes and a Noble Dragon Magician, and I can normally go for a 7. I can do 1-for-1, get out Black Metal, and then I'd actually be able to pull off a level 8 Synchro, and since he'd be sent to the graveyard, I would also get off a Red Eyes Search, so it's something I'm still kind of just playing with. I may take out the 1-for-1, I don't know. It hasn't worked against me so far, so we'll see. That's actually it for the main deck. I run no trap cards in this deck. I haven't really needed it so far since this is such a fast deck. Now we move on to the extra deck. I run first off, the 1 Archfiend Black Skull Dragon. This is easily the greatest card the new Red Eye support has given us. This card is amazing. I love it to death. I will never get rid of it. Beautiful, beautiful thing. I love it. I also run 1 Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. He's actually really, really good. He's a pretty beefy wall if you need him to be, and his ability to negate card effects is phenomenal. He's really, really useful, and he's pretty easy to get out even if you can't fusion summon him just because of Absolute Dragon. Now, this next one's kind of weird. I'm debating this one. I might see if I can replace it with something a little bit more useful, but for now I'm running 1 copy of Rune Eyes Pendulum Dragon, just because his ability to wipe out a lot of monsters is pretty useful, and his immunity effect is pretty nice too, so again, I'm just kind of testing him out right now, see where he takes me. If he doesn't work out, I will replace him, but I haven't had a reason to do so yet. I don't even know what I replace him with. I don't know, we'll see. And last but not least, I'm running 1 First of the Dragons. I do have plenty of normal monsters in this deck, so getting him out is really useful, and in any deck that can, I highly recommend a First of the Dragons. He's just a great card, not a lot of things can get past him. That's it for fusions. Next up for Synchros, I have 1 Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. He's an amazingly useful card. He can just grab one of my level 7 monsters in the Pendulum Scale, get him, then I can go into a rank 7 play immediately. And if I do decide to go for an Absolute Dragon, then I can use his effect of Special Summon immediately, since I will just have to detach Meteor Burst and then I'll have my Odd Eyes target. I also run 1 Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Really, really good card. Protects all your level 5 or higher monsters, as well as himself. And since I happen to have a lot of level 5 or higher monsters in the deck, he's kind of essential. And next up, we have that level 8 I was talking about. Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. Yes, for those of you guys wondering, since I did my Red Unity Archfiend deck profile, I do finally have one of him. I love him to death. He is a wonderful, wonderful card. So, running him in this deck as well, just in case. I also run 1 Star Eater. Sorry if he's kind of hard to see. It's a ghost rare, so... yeah, there we go. Yeah, Star Eater. Just because with Debris Dragon and all my level 7s, getting into an 11 is actually surprisingly easy. That's it for my Synchros. Finally move on to the last portion of the deck, the Xyz. I run 1 Kreen Dragoon Jin. As I said, I do have the Debris Dragon Mapkeeper the Shrine combo there, so I can do some rank 4 plays. This is my rank 4 monster. It protects my dragons as well as brings back some of my Red Eyes monsters, or a different dragon should it perish. Just anything I can bring back with it, it's pretty helpful. Now, like I said, since I do run the 2 Oak Dragons and the 1 Summon Skull, I can do some interesting rank 6 things, so I run 1 Photon Strike Bouncer. He's just a pretty good card, just kind of trying to stop monster effects, which are becoming more and more prevalent in this game, so he just feels like a good card to run. 27's pretty hard to get over, and he's done pretty nicely for me so far. And finally, onto the rank 7s, the Heart and Soul of the Xyz part of the extra deck. I run 1 number 11 Big Eye. Even after all this time, Big Eye is still one of the most amazing Xyz monsters I've ever seen. Basically, a Snatch Steal without any of the negative repercussions. I also run 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. One, because he's an amazing card, and two, because since it's a red-eyed variant of the Magician Pendulums, I can actually get the full length of his effect off, or I can actually bring back Red Eye's monsters, so it does actually work out quite nicely with him in there. Plus, the 500 burn is pretty sweet. Next up, I run two copies, actually, of Odd Eye's Absolute Dragon. This is primarily just because with his effect, I'm able to, I can get off multiples of him pretty easily, and with his ability to special summon an Odd Eyes monster from my extra deck when he dies, it works advantageously for me to run multiples of him, just because I have plenty of options I can choose from. And last but not least, I have the Juggernaut of the deck, my go-to monster to kill anything and everything, Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon. Now, I've honestly never summoned this guy with his full effect out, but usually I don't have to. If I can get him out with his full effects, which it's not difficult for me to do, I've just never had a reason to do it. But if I can, it's usually game at that point. There's nothing that you can really do against this guy with his full effect. It's pretty stupid, honestly. But yeah, just wonderful, wonderful little card to have. So that's it for the extra deck, standard 15 cards, and I don't have a side deck for this. It works pretty nicely by itself. So that's all I got for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. This is a pretty cool deck, or do I have any things I can improve on, any ideas you guys can think of? Let me know down in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to also like my Facebook page where you can give me further advice on this deck. Like this video and subscribe to my channel for further content. And until next time,